Welcome back to another episode of the Live from the Backroom podcast. I'm, of course, your humble host, John McAndrew, and before we begin, I'd like to apologize for such a gap between episodes, but today is finally the day where I have a guest on the show. He's a fellow record head, an amazing musician, but above all, he's one of my best friends. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Dylan Soto. Before we continue, I want to give some background on Dylan. He's a San Diego-based jazz saxophonist and musician who founded his group, the Soto Six Jazz Sextet, in 2017. With the Soto Six, the band has hosted Oceanside, California's only live jazz series at the Brown Cup Cafe since 2019, as well as the North San Diego County premier jazz jam at the Aztec Brewing Company. More recently, he adds another name to his growing list of collaborations, this one with renowned pianist and composer Bob Weller. This connection resulted in the establishment of his newest band, the Weller-Soto Quartet. The quartet recently completed a series of recordings featuring Bob's original reharmonizations of jazz standards utilizing the concept of negative harmony, featuring performances by the aforementioned Bob Weller, Dylan Soto, Kyle Bakewin, thank you, and Joanna Tsai. All performances recorded live at Peter Sprague at Spragueland Studios, and you can find the full series of recordings now via Bob's YouTube channel. And you can find Dylan and his band on social media with the handle @theSoto6 on Instagram and Facebook. Now, is this the part where we should tell them this is the second time we've done this?
I think we could tell them, yeah.
So originally we had this recorded, had a whole podcast done. It was like an hour's worth, and it was so much fun. The day after, I will go into, listen through and, if I have to tweak anything and, re-record something here and there, only to find out that the second microphone that Dylan was on completely corrupted. It sounded like he was talking through a McDonald's drive-through box. And thank God, where it's a week later now, but what a fiasco. So let's start where we started the last time, talking with the establishment of your relationship with Bob Weller. I mean, again, reharmonization using negative harmony on jazz standards is one of those sentences where I just reread it and go, no, I can't. That's above my pay grade.
Yeah.
Mentally. So where did it start?
That specific project?
Yeah.
Well, that project started just kind of as a result of COVID. Not unlike many of us, we're all just kind of in our houses looking for stuff to do. And the thing about Bob Weller is that he is just a brilliant person.
Not one to be put down by anything, including a pandemic.
Right. And so, when the pandemic first hit, obviously a lot of us musicians weren't playing a lot. We were just kind of at home for a long time. But then when things started to let up a little bit in the summer, he invited us to come over to his place and jam. And we just kind of got together, distanced, and jammed just kind of whatever. But he told us then that he was working on, that he was kind of bored during quarantine, and so he taught himself negative harmony. And
which, again, it's another one of those sentences where you just go, wait, you taught yourself how to play negative harmony?
Yeah, well, he said he just did some research online, and he sent me a couple videos about, he's like, yeah, you could do it. And I said, and I'm just watching this going, wow, Bob. But he said he taught himself how to do it, and he was interested in doing it, applying the concepts from that he was learning into some jazz standard stuff we knew. And that was kind of where he left it. But after a couple months, he had a couple more songs, and then eventually he said, "What? I think we should record these." And we said, okay. And so he booked us some time. We coordinated together, and he booked us some time with the great Peter Sprague. And we went over to his studio and recorded that, and just released them online on YouTube. And that's kind of just how it happened. It was just kind of a COVID spurred thing, but it turned out to be a great thing and a really fun experience.
Well, and again, they're just, obviously, and I've just gushed over them. They've been one of my favorite things, and it's just so cool. But you can really hear, the dynamic change when you listen to his version and then you listen to the studio version and you go, oh yeah, there are some nuances that are very different.
Yeah, and the thing about it is that what's interesting about it is that it's familiar because the melody is still there. But not only is the style different, like we did some different things with the arrangements and whatnot, but just the whole harmonic texture is changed by the reharmonizations that he did. So it brings out all these different colors to the songs that weren't there before.
Right.
And the feedback's been pretty positive, and I'm grateful for the experience. And I just think it's still to this day it cracks me up that was just something that kind of started because he was bored, you know.
Well, and it's like when you hear artists that are like, oh yeah, like you'll see interviews in like Rolling Stone or like online magazines, like, oh, what have you been doing during the pandemic? Oh, I've had a couple little sketches here and there. I've completed like a song or two. Oh, can we expect an album? Yeah, maybe. And then you got like McCartney, who's like, oh yeah, I also got bored and I had some scraps left over, so I decided to mess around with them. Next thing I know, I had 3. Then I had 6. Then I said, all right, let's just record it. And then here you have
that is
3.
That is really how it happens. It's just a crazy thing. Like I said, happened the same exact way. He started with 1, then we went back a couple weeks later, he had 3, and then and what happened was we did a live stream show and we played one of them in that. And then,
on the September one?
Yes.
Oh, you're kidding.
As part of Concert Hour series, we played one of the songs in there. And then I guess when we listened back to it, he really liked the way that sounded. And he said he wanted to do more of them. And then eventually, like you just said, he had a group of them, and we just, let's put it on tape. Let's do it. Audio, video.
That's
put
awesome.
on YouTube.
Still feel bad I missed that live stream because it happened to coincide the same day as my birthday. So when it was like, hey man, I'm going to be doing this live stream, I'm like, oh, that'll be great. I'm going to tune in later. And I thought I could rewatch it, but I was face down at a bar. No, I'm kidding. Well, I was at a bar, but not face down. I was just like, oh, I missed the thing.
Hey, no worries.
No, I know, but I mean, we've been able to catch up and just talk shop on music, buying more records than we know what to do with. I mean, yesterday I just finally picked up A Love Supreme, which I know there's going to be some people who listen to this and just go, you just finally got it? Don't worry, I listen to it on Spotify all the time, but now I finally have a copy of it on vinyl, so...
Yeah, that's good.
However you get there, as long as you get there.
Yeah, I went through periods of not having a copy on vinyl because I would give my copy away. Like, I gave a copy to my sister, and then I didn't have it, and then, I think... that got taken by a boyfriend or something.
Oh, good.
And gave
just
her
doesn't get
one.
it back.
Something like that. I don't remember. I think I gave her 2 copies. I could be wrong. I could be thinking of someone else. I don't remember.
There's a guy in my neighborhood who lives on the other end of the block, and we were talking records. He goes, yeah, I had to restart my collection. Take my advice if you get anything from this friendship. Don't share your vinyl with any girlfriends. And I started laughing. He goes, no, but for real, don't. She took everything. I was like,
I feel like I see on the vinyl Reddit all the time. Just broke up. My boyfriend, girlfriend, whoever.
Yeah.
Took a lot of the records that weren't theirs. Mark your albums or whatever.
Oh my god. Sometimes I scroll through the vinyl subreddit and it just makes me sad because like you'll see things in the comment section like, dude.
Oh, of jerks.
Oh, they're the worst.
Yeah,
like I posted my setup and I was getting clowned hard. I'm like,
were you?
Oh yeah, that was so funny. I posted a photo, but my TV was on and I was listening to like lo-fi beats on Spotify. And they were just like, oh, so you post your setup but you're listening to Spotify. Oh, you're not a real da-da-da-da. And I know it's sarcastic, but a lot of people like jumped on the bandwagon like, yeah, take your post down if it's not about da-da-da-da. I'm like,
oh my goodness.
And I'm like looking, I'm like, yeah, but I almost got 2,000 upvotes, so no.
Wow.
It's like, no, I will not be taking mine down.
It is pretty brutal sometimes. I saw maybe a week or 2 ago, someone put a picture of Supertramp, Breakfast in America.
I saw that one.
Did you see that post? And they put, I love this album. This reminds me of my dad. And I found it. I'm happy to have found it for $4 or something. And then, someone put in there, that album's not worth that. This is a generic album everybody has, and blah blah blah. Just completely tearing that person
and
apart.
then you're just like, did you not read the title?
Yeah,
like, this dude's trying to have a good day here, and you're like ruining it. Yeah, no, that's why I'm like, the gatekeepers.
Yeah,
one of my favorite lines I've ever heard, because we're not audiophiles, we're just record collectors.
Yeah.
One of my favorite quotes was, audiophiles don't buy vinyl, they don't buy vinyl to listen to it, they buy vinyl to listen to their equipment. I was like, yeah, that's true. Probably.
There is, I think that goes for a lot of hobbies too, when it becomes this elitist thing that is, it just kind of ruins it for everybody.
Yeah. It's like, why do you, I buy vinyl because it sounds better than CD. I'm like, well, I mean, it might, but it's just fun.
Yeah, it really, everybody has a different reason for getting into it.
Right.
And a lot of the time, I think that, the vinyl sounds better than CD claim is 100% valid.
I agree.
But some people then say, well, that's not true because I have such and such record player that doesn't sound good, or I've noticed a lot of people will post online on different things like, you said vinyl sounded better than CD, and it doesn't. And then someone will ask, well, what are you playing it on? And they're like, I'm playing this. And it's a picture of a record that looks like it's been run over by a truck. And then they're playing it on a little
Crosley.
Yeah, a little Crosley or something like that. And it's like, well, of course that's not going to sound better, So
I play all of my grails on a Crosley.
That's the classic joke, right?
Well, the Vinyl Jerk subreddit, which is one of my favorite subreddits, they're just like, I finally got the Red Scream Man album. And they're talking about King Crimson, Court of the Crimson King. And I was like, oh, God. One of my favorite ones.
Yeah, it's...
Did you see the one post where it's a Crosley spinning a record at 78 and it catches on fire?
No, I didn't see that.
It's just one of the funniest things ever.
Wow.
I was like, okay, what? Why?
I didn't see that. Yeah, I think, like you said, we're not audiophiles, but at the same time, you get out of it what you put into it. So if you have a nice setup, and so you take care of your records and you buy, you pay attention to the quality of the vinyl you're buying, it's gonna pay off for you because it's gonna sound really good.
Yeah, exactly.
If you don't do that, then it can't be guaranteed.
Yeah, it's like the whole you get what you pay for type of deal.
Yes,
which this is where I'm going to inject my personal opinion, which is support your local record stores. Always have your go-to shop.
Yeah.
I personally, my top three is Lou's Standards and Spins. So Lou's of Encinitas, Spin Records in Carlsbad, and Standards in Vista. I don't know of any other. Well, there's also Schoolyard, which is owned by a guy named Riz, who's super, super cool.
I've never been there.
He's a great DJ. He opened for Grandmaster Flash last year.
Oh, really?
In the Escondido Performing Arts Center when he was on tour. Yeah, he just mentioned that in passing when I was scrolling through records. He goes, oh, yeah. It's like, oh, dude, where'd you get that signed record? He goes, oh, yeah, I opened for him last November. I go,
wow.
You what?
That's really cool.
I was like, yeah, I got a random call out of nowhere. And he goes, hey, can you, he's like, yeah, I want local, San Diego people to open for me. Do you want to be one of my openers? It's like, okay.
That's awesome.
That's rad. So getting back on, we're so good with tangential conversations. And it's because this is one of my personal favorite stories was how you met Bob through one of my favorite people and mutual favorite person, the great Tim.
Yeah, so...
the greatest piano player any band has ever had.
So, for the people listening, one of my closest, dearest friends is a guy named Tim Louie, and he happens to play piano in the Soto Six group. And so we were talking about Bob Weller before with the Negative Harmony project, but how I met Bob was through Tim, and what happened was that Tim had a big birthday party. It was a joint birthday party for Tim and Bruce, the Bruce Graffrath, who's the bass player in the group, in the Soto Six group. And so their birthdays are a week apart. So we had this was
just get a bash
2 years ago. Yeah, this was 2 years ago. think, 2019. And had a birthday party at his house, invited a ton of people over, just jam. And so a lot of people in and out all day. It's a lot of fun. And it's later in the night. The party's kind of winding down. And I'm just standing there, and I look in and look at the door, and just Bob Weller walks in. And at this point, I had never met him. But he was somebody that I knew about, and he was somebody everybody knew about in the scene, and but he's kind of an intimidating presence when he walked in, and I was just thinking, oh shit, there he is. And he just walks in.
He's
and
real.
Yeah. But I'm thinking, oh man, there he is. And Tim goes, Bob, you made it. Here, come on. And he just pushes everybody outside. And Bob's just getting there. He has a piece of cake in his hand. He just arrived, and is like, let me finish your birthday cake, dude. But
no,
Tim says, here, and he grabs him on the shoulders, and he walks him over to the piano bench, and he sits him down, and he says, sit here. And then he goes inside, and he says, you guys go over there. And he points to the rest of us, and he wants us to play with Bob. And then he goes inside, and he grabs a couple lead sheets and stuff. He's like, I want you to play all my favorite songs. And then he says, here, play this one first. And he puts a song in front of us, and it was Moment's Notice, John Coltrane. And he's like, okay. And he's like, okay. And he said, okay, you guys ready? And I'm thinking, oh gosh, we're going to play with Bob right now. Okay. And then Tim counts off the song, and Tim's not even playing. What he does is he drags a chair from inside up to the foot of the piano and just sits right there. And he's like, okay.
He's allowed to do it, but at the same time, I'm sure there was just the thought of like, dude, what are you doing?
Tim, I think with anyone else, there would have been that thought. But what everyone needs to understand is that Tim is like...
Tim just knows everybody.
He knows everybody.
Knows Tim.
Everybody knows Tim. And
this is expected.
And he is... he's the kind of person that standard rules... and don't apply to him.
No, great.
He kind of gets away with saying whatever he wants or doing whatever he wants.
We'll get into that part.
Yeah. And so he just pulls a chair up and sits right there, and he says, okay, go. And I'm like, okay. So I count the song off, and we play maybe 10 bars of it, and then Tim, stop. No, play it right here. And he counts off the tempo he wants us to play. I guess my tempo wasn't good enough for him, which is totally okay.
Tim, you're fired. No.
No, it was totally okay. But it was just so funny because I've never seen him do anything like this before. So I'm just kind of laughing. On the one hand, I'm kind of laughing to myself about how funny this situation is. And on the other hand, I'm thinking, man, we're about to play with Bob Weller. And so... we get through the head of the tune, and then the solo break comes, and Bob's gonna take the first solo,
right?
And takes the break, and he's just off guns blazing, and I'm just standing there watching him, going, "Oh my God, this is unreal!" And from there, he ended up subbing for Tim on a gig we did, and then out of that, I guess he really enjoyed playing with us.
Well, that was a great show too. Which one was that? The Crusaders show?
Oh yeah, so he did sub for us on that one, but I'm referring to an earlier one.
Oh, gotcha.
So he subbed for us. Yeah, he did sub for us on that one, but he subbed for us on a different show we played over at Aztec one time, and that was the first time that I had gigged with him.
Oh,
and
right.
So
yeah.
It was out of that the idea for a quartet together grew out of that. And
That's
then
cool.
Ever since, we've had a working relationship.
Right.
Playing with each other on different things. So, but yeah, that's how I met him. It was kind of just a funny thing.
Well, and I mean, I know, I'm trying to remember whatever we covered through our first, I guess, test episode. God,
it's okay. We don't have to replicate it exactly.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But it was just the way the band all formed was just such a great story. But just Tim is kind of the ringleader of everything, but I know you helped corral it all to make it into a working
for the Soto
body.
Six group.
Well, yeah. Well, and I mean, the story when you were talking about meeting Tim at the ensemble, which was just one of the funniest things ever.
Yeah. So I met Tim. a number of years ago, many years ago. I don't remember what year exactly, but a while ago. And I was in high school at the time still. And so what happened was I joined the local community college band because the local community college jazz band because I had been in the marching band at my high school,
and I loved it so much.
Yeah, I really loved it so much that all I wanted to do was quit every day. And so I wanted something else to do, and I wanted to just focus on jazz. So I joined the local community college band, and I applied to a couple of them. Didn't really get any returned emails on the others, but the one I got was at this one I made it into. So I went over there, showed up on the first day, and I didn't know anyone. I was significantly younger than everybody because I was still in high school. And these were community college students and some community people who were older like Tim, and who just want a band to play and keep their reading chops up and stuff like that. So I got there, I'm nervous, and we have the first half of rehearsal, and band leader calls a break, and I just kind of get up and I walk to the side of, I remember I walked to the side of the band room, and I'm just standing there by myself, and I was kind of nervous, I didn't know anybody. And the whole rehearsal, I had been noticing Tim because he kept smiling the whole time. The smile never left his face, and he was cracking jokes the whole time. And I'm thinking, who is this guy? And so I'm just standing there by myself.
International man of mystery.
Yeah, really. And so I'm just standing there by myself, and he walked by, and then he just looks at me, and he goes, "Boy, this band sounds like shit, doesn't it?" And I just looked at him, and I was so surprised. I'm thinking, I overheard someone mention that he had been in this band for like 10 years. And I'm thinking, what? You're not supposed to say that.
What did I do?
And I thought it was my fault. I'm like, is this guy insulting me? I was like, I don't know. And then he just looks at me and he just erupts in laughter. And I'm even more confused. And he said, I'm just kidding. He said, the first night's always rough. And then he said, but we'll see. And then he just walks away. And then he just picks up a newspaper and he's reading the newspaper at the same time. And I'm thinking, who is this guy? And so I kind of followed him a little bit. And I just
come back. Who are you?
Yeah, and I just was like, just kind of trying to talk to him a little bit. And the first thing that struck me about him was how smiley he was, and then also too just how he genuinely seemed to not care what people thought about him, which I really admire that. And so I just was very immediately put at ease by him, and I didn't. So the nerves that I had that day kind of went away when I talked to him. And then we finished the rehearsal, but then every Monday we rehearsed, and I found myself at the break going over to talk to him. And the more I got to know him, the more I realized that he was really passionate about jazz and all of these things. And we shared a lot of the same passions for the music and everything. And so he's the band leader of his own group, which is a 12-piece jazz rock band with horns that plays a lot of like Blood, Sweat and Tears, Chicago, Steely Dan, Tower of Power, Earth, Wind and Fire, that sort of stuff.
I can't wait for his band. What was funny is, like, I didn't know he had his own group until you were talking about it the last time. I'm like, I gotta go see it.
Yeah, I'll let you know once we get back to it.
I would be so.
Yeah, you got to come check that one out.
So much fun.
But he has that group, and one day we were getting ready for something, and then he just walked over and he slammed his sheet music folder in front of me, and then he threw a pencil at me, and he said, "Name, phone number, now." And so I said, okay, and I wrote my name and phone number on the paper, and he went, okay. He said, "I'll call you." Okay. He didn't tell me what for. he just said, "I'll call you," but I was okay. And then maybe a week or so later, he called me and said, "Hey, can you be here tomorrow? We've got a gig. We got a rehearsal for a gig next weekend." And I said, "Well, what is it?" And he told me it's this band. He said, "Do you like Steely Dan? Do you like Tower of Power? Do you like Earth?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "That's what we're doing." He said, "Rehearsal at 2 p.m. my place. Here's the address, blah, blah, blah." And showed up. We were reading through these charts. I'm like, oh my God, I love every single one of these songs. And so I joined that band, and he ended up asking me to stay, and from that, the rest is history. Really, with that, that was really what kind of cemented our connection, was me joining his group.
That's just so great. And I mean, again, like once this whole thing blows over, and hopefully in the next maybe 3, 4, at worst 6 months, which I know sounds like a long time, but it'll be gone before we know it. I'm so excited to get the Brown Cup back, just to have those shows again. And for any of you who are listening who are in the San Diego area, if you can make your way up to Oceanside, it's the last Friday of every month, and the Dylan's band, the Soto Six, always does a tribute night, and it's one of the most electrifying things you'll ever see. I mean, it's so much fun. And you really never know like who it's going to be. And it's funny, I'll text you sometimes, and I can tell where it's like, well, I got to keep things under wraps. Like, sometimes it's trying to pull teeth with you, just like, so what's next month? Oh, I can't tell you, man. You just got to believe me. It's going to be fun. I was like, all right. I know it will be, but I was like, maybe I can get a little bit of inside ball here, but no, it's always been fun. So, and the last one was,
the last one before COVID hit was Joe Beam.
Oh, Joe Beam.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was awesome. And the one before that was Jazz Crusaders, right?
The one before Joe Beam was Chick Corea and Herbie Hancock.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep. Tim was having a lot of fun with that one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and again,
that was fun.
It's Herbie and Chick, like two of the greatest like piano players.
Oh yeah.
Ever.
Without question. Yeah.
Oh. The first time I brought home Headhunters, I thought my parents were going to kill me. Like, why do you like this? I'm like, I don't know. I just do. It's so good.
Were you blasting it?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I had all my windows open. I'm sure my neighbors thought I was doing some weird type of sacrifice ritual or something. Because the beginning of Chameleon is weird.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the... I don't even know what instrument they're using at the beginning, but the sound like they're yelling at the beginning.
It's a beautiful thing.
Oh, it's so great. But like, I just remember my mom leaning in, going, "Can you turn it down?" I'm like, maybe. And then I go from that to listening to his first record. Oh man, I don't remember the name. It's his Blue Note debut record when he was like...
Who, Herbie?
Yeah.
Oh, Taken Off?
Yeah, Taken Off.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I wasn't sure who you were referring to.
No, my bad.
Yeah.
Well, and then it's like I got into fusion hardcore with... I started with Headhunters and then made my way to Bitches Brew because, that's what you do.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's some quintessential stuff. Right
Absolutely.
There. Yeah.
Dylan and I also have the pleasure of sometimes selling records with some close friends of ours here in Oceanside. We were going to be doing a sale a couple of months ago, but about a month and a half ago. But when numbers were spiking and things had to shut down again, that got canceled. So we are in a state of limbo once again with that. But
yeah, I've just got a room full of boxes of stuff that we were going to put out.
Yeah, I mean, there's 4 crates right on my floor,
right here,
full of records that need to be priced and gone through. But
it's a good problem to have.
Yeah, well, sometimes it'd be nice to have a cleared floor, but
Nah. Space isn't necessary.
No,
especially when it's filled with music.
The nomadic lifestyle of music collectors. Yeah, we're an eclectic mix, but it's fun. So I kind of want to go back to like the whole origin of things, like,
yeah, sure.
When it comes to your relationship with music and where it all started, because it's one of my favorite questions. What was your first concert?
Weird Al Yankovic.
You're kidding.
I'm not kidding.
No way.
Yeah.
Where?
San Diego County Fair.
I'm so jealous. Yeah. I've always wanted to see him.
Have you?
Yes.
I saw him, how many times did I see him? 2 or 3 times.
Oh, that's
I don't
great.
remember. Yeah, that was my first concert. I was so excited, and he put on a hell of a show. I tell you what, you got to see him live. It is unbelievable. His band is great. I mean, think of all the stuff, the kind of the ground that they'd have to cover in a Weird Al show of different genres and different types of music to pull off. But he's had the same band since 1970, whatever, 79 or something like that. No, earlier, right? I don't remember.
I don't know.
Someone could fact check me on that. I don't remember. But anyway, long-standing band is the point. And just put on every song you'd want to hear, and it's just hilarious. But I mean, the music's great. He's an excellent performer. You don't want to stop watching it. And is just such a fun show to see. And that was my first concert.
I can't believe that. That's so great.
What was yours?
McCartney.
Oh, was it?
2009,
Wow.
May 11th or May 10th.
Wow.
March. I can't remember. I know it was 2009. It was funny. My parents were like, the day of, like, hey, we're going to pull you early today. I was like, from school. I'm in 5th grade. I'm like,
oh, okay.
Why? Like, oh, we're going to go see your aunt and uncle, and my aunt and uncle at the time live in L.A. Okay, that's cool. I hadn't seen them for a while. Get up to L.A., and my parents were like, well, just, again, typical, like, kid stuff. Oh, just do your homework, behave yourself, and we're going to have a lot of fun. And I'm, oh, okay, cool, whatever. And, all right. Again, I'm like 9, so I don't know everything. I'm like, yeah, I mean, I guess that's what you do. You just get, hey, we're going to go see family, so we're pulling you early from school. Cool, yeah, sure. So I get up there. We all go grab dinner. We're hanging out. We go back to their house, and they have this beautiful little home in Westwood, like tucked away from downtown LA.
Wow, nice.
Oh, it was awesome. Like the ultimate, little 2 to 3 bedroom house. And they
awesome,
had their 2 cocker spaniels just running amok. Oh, they're the best. And my dad just goes, okay, so we actually came up here for 2 reasons. Seeing your aunt and uncle was one. And my dad hands me a card, and he goes, this is the other one, or like a parcel. I pull out, it's a tie-dye yellow submarine shirt. I was like, oh, cool, Beatles shirt. I was, again, product of older parents. Like, I remember getting my first Beatles shirt and Dark Side of the Moon shirt when I was like 6 or 7.
Nice.
And like adults were like, you shouldn't know who they are, because... why would you? And I was like, but I love Dark Side. I was like, yeah, but Beatles. And I was like, oh, cool, another Beatles shirt. And my dad hands me a card, and I open it, and it's got the ticket stub.
Wow.
And it was I think the Runaway Tour was. I don't really remember what it said. I just remember starting to like weep because McCartney's my hero. Yeah. So I'm like crying, like, I get to see McCartney. Wow. So we go to Hollywood Bowl. It takes like an hour to get there.
At the Bowl, too.
At the Bowl.
Wow.
And so what was crazy is, and I know I talked about it on my first episode, but he opened with the, like, on Wings Over America, the Venus and Mars rock show into Jet.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he did the full intro into that.
That's super cool.
Then he did Drive My Car.
Wow. Then
Only Mama Knows from the Ever Present Past record. That was the record he was touring with. It was 2009. Which is still one of my favorite bass tabs to play. I mean, it's just so simple, but just so loud. I mean, again, it was like the same McCartney show we went to.
Yeah.
Got up on stage, played for 3 hours. I got back to my aunt and uncle's at midnight. I had never stayed up that late. I don't remember getting home. I just remember waking up at like 9 in the morning.
That's a great experience for.
I was like, Mom, Dad, I'm gonna be late for school.
Yeah, I mean, to expose someone that young to that sort of music and that presence. To be in that energy.
It was also the first time I ever smelled weed. And I was like, Mom, what's that smell? And my mom just goes, that's called weed. I go, I hate it. And she goes, yep. Now you're in California, and everywhere I walk, I'm like, ugh, cheap. And I keep walking. Not even a second thought. But I mean, it's like we were saying, like the show we went to on the Freshen Up tour. He had just turned 77.
Yeah.
38 songs, no break.
Right.
And I remember going back to the car going, what just happened?
Yeah.
It was done like that. I was mad. I wanted to go back for more.
Yeah, he is. you know, there's something about Paul McCartney that's
Inhuman.
yes, definitely. And, you know, just the way, you know, I mean, I think we all wish that we'll be, when we reach that age, not only have that much energy, but still just be, I think that's really the product of living your passion, honestly. I mean, he's been doing this since he was a kid.
Yeah, for real.
His whole life, you know. I really admire that about him, that he's somebody that doesn't need to be doing that. He could be phoning it in at this point.
I mean, he's worth
easily.
So much money, and he's just like, yeah, I do it because
he just loves it. Right. And that's really admirable.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, it's like you're talking, like, you know, play to your passion.
Right.
I mean, what you are doing is awesome.
Oh, thank you.
So, you know, speaking of how, you know, what you do and what you play, what was it that, and I know I mentioned it the first time, you know, and a couple times in passing, but, you know, it's kind of interesting. Like, you see people pick up, you know, the guitar or the bass or pick up drums. And you're like, oh, yeah, because so-and-so plays this. Or it's like, oh, yeah, I play trumpet because X, Y, and Z. Not a lot of people just go, you know what I want? I want to play the saxophone. Because, I mean, like, we've talked about it before. It's one of the greatest instruments ever.
I think so.
Like, whether
I'm probably biased, but I agree.
You should be. You should be biased. It'd be weird if you weren't. I mean, whether you're listening to, like, jazz and you're listening to, like, A Love Supreme, or you're listening to Funhouse by the Stooges with that crazy sax solo and the breakdown of, I don't remember what song.
It's a very versatile instrument.
Oh, yeah. No, it can be played anywhere and anytime.
Yes.
And it's perfect. So what brought you, like, what gravitated you to that instrument?
So the saxophone was kind of a, I almost want to say kind of just a random thing. So I was originally, when I was in the 5th grade, they were going to start up a school band class, and
As they all do.
Yeah. And so I didn't want to join. At that point, I was playing the piano already. I had been taking piano lessons for only a couple years at that point. But I wasn't really interested in any of the school band instruments. I remember saying at the time, if I could play piano, I would do it, but they didn't have a piano player in the band. I wasn't really, but starting to learn another instrument wasn't really on my mind at the time. But you know, one thing led to another, and I thought, okay, well, maybe I'll just try it and see how it goes. So I wanted to play the trumpet because I have a cousin who's a professional trumpeter, and that was kind of just the only instrument I identified with as a result of that.
Right.
But we were driving around, my dad and I, he's taking me somewhere, I don't remember, and we're in the car, and then on the radio comes on this song that he's always liked, and I've liked too, called Pick Up the Pieces by the funk group Average White Band. And it's just a saxophone, it's an instrumental, saxophone carries the melody the whole time, but it grooves so hard, you know. And so I just asked him, hey, well, what's that? Because it sounded like a horn instrument, like that would be in the school band. And he said, that's a saxophone. And I kind of thought about it for a second, and I said, I want to do that. And so when it came time to pick the instruments on the first day of the band class, I said, I'll take a saxophone. And they handed me an alto saxophone, and I played that for a couple months in the school band and kind of took a liking to it. And so my parents agreed to get me some lessons. And at my first lesson, my teacher, Rafael Perez, one of the great saxophone players in our area, he said, what do you think about switching to tenor? And I thought, okay. And so I tried out a tenor that day, and I really liked it, and I haven't looked back since. And Raphael then from there really sparked my love of the instrument beyond just something fun to do.
Well, and Raphael is another person who deserves credit because he got you, you know, in tune with Brown Cup. You know, without him, we wouldn't even have the show.
Yeah, I owe a lot to him. Not only was he my teacher and taught me everything I know about the saxophone, but he has done so many things for me. He's always been just an endless he's always going to be an endless amount of support. When I was very young still and very immature on the saxophone, not immature in behavior, but immature in my playing, like I was still very much a beginner, he was still pushing me to pursue a higher level of thinking about music and a higher level of approaching playing and a higher level of performance. So he got me into big bands and all this stuff, into different playing situations while I was still just learning. So then I would find myself sitting next to him or other players in the situation that were very advanced players and just kind of soaking all of that in from a very early stage. And he, of course, like you mentioned, he is the reason why we got the gig at the Brown Cup, because he had an established friendship with the owner there, and he introduced me to them, and from there that grew. But he's like everything you want in a teacher. He wasn't just the teacher, he was really a mentor, and to this day still just such a valuable supporter and a source of support in my life.
Which
for
is
sure,
obviously totally important.
Definitely, yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Soto Six is the second band you've been in, or the second band you've the first band you started, but or is it the second or third band you've been?
I had I would say it's the first I'd say it's the first like really serious group I've had. I had a group when I was in high school with a couple friends. I didn't start that band. I was asked to join that band.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah. But then, I did end up kind of playing a larger role in getting us gigs. But I didn't start the group. But it was from that first high school group that the Brown Cup connection happened, because while I was still in high school, that was when Raphael approached me with the Brown Cup as a possible venue. So, but the Soto Six group is really, I would say, the first, as far as it was the first very serious project,
right?
That I was involved with in that way.
Well, and I mean, because I remember when we were talking about it, not even when we were recording, just like offhand, was like, oh yeah, it was just we were just playing the stuff we thought people would want to hear.
Right. So so what you're alluding to, when we started playing when the Soto Six group started, I should probably explain, is that that started, so I mentioned earlier that I joined Tim's kind of rock group with horns.
Fantastic.
And that group's called Sonic Epidemic, by the way, if anyone wants to check that out. But what happened was around the same time as that, my little high school group was kind of falling apart due to personality problems. And
as all good bands do.
Right. And so I was kind of getting sick of it and of the personalities. I at the same time, I wanted to just focus on jazz, because we did some other kind of silly covers and stuff too, but with that group. But I just really wanted to focus on jazz, and so Tim is here, and I just kind of at the same time, Raphael is telling me, start your own group. So then one day I have that in my head already, and I'm talking to Tim, and I kind of float the idea to him. What do you think about just getting together and kind of playing some jazz? And he goes, yeah, let's do it. And so he pulled in a couple people from his group who were in the other band, the rock group, and who had some background in jazz, So we got together, and I got Raphael to come, and we just kind of formed a sextet, and it went well the first day we got together. So we said, okay, well I've got a gig for us, because I still had maintained the relationship at the Brown Cup. I said, why don't we go play over there? So we did, and nobody showed up. I joke to this day that like the only people that were there were my parents, the trumpet player's parents, and like a random homeless person that just walked in off of Coast Highway, But that was really true. There was no one there. I mean, that's an exaggeration a little bit, but it was empty. And so we played there a handful of times, and we had some other gigs too. Like we played a couple weddings and some things like that. But the problem was that I was creating set lists that were based on what I thought, like you said, what I thought people would want to hear. So I was playing we were playing very familiar things.
The American Songbook type.
Yeah,
of stuff.
I was picking very standard repertoire. And
which is, again, it's not a bad thing.
No
Those
knock
songs
on
are
it.
awesome.
Yeah, no knock on it whatsoever. But we were playing it very straight, you know, and we were playing it in a very palatable way. And then also too, we, you know, I won't get into it all, but it was just we weren't always able to practice, so things were kind of loose, and you know, blah blah blah. You can imagine.
Yeah.
But you know, one thing led to another, and we had some personnel changes, and kind of the group always kind of fluctuates to an extent, more or less, but the core people kind of changed out a little bit. Ended up kind of, but what happened was we ended up on the crew we've got now, and from there, we decided. Tim and I were talking, and we decided, what if we play at Brown Cup every month? Once a month, like the last Friday of the month, and what if we just play what we want to play, not try to worry about what people want to hear? And said, okay, well, let's start with why don't we just play the music of Coltrane and Dexter Gordon, who are like my favorite tenor sax players. So, okay, did that. Got to the Brown Cup, it was full, just about. And at this time, we didn't even move tables out and set up more chairs. It's just like the room at its current capacity was full. And wow, well, where'd all these people come from? Because we were used to playing for like 4 people, you know. And so he said, I guess something we did must have worked. And so then Tim said, why don't next month we do my favorites? Let's do Cedar Walton, the great pianist, and Freddie Hubbard, the great trumpeter. And I said, okay, let's do that. Then there were even more people. And so we said, well, I think we've got something here. Why don't we just keep cycling through people we like and play the songs we like that they wrote? And we can bring this music to people who aren't familiar with it. And at the same time, it seems like they're liking what we're doing.
Right.
And it just ballooned from there.
Yeah. You owe me about $1,500 because the amount of jazz records I bought because of you is unforgivable.
No, that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it is. I mean, for my ears, it is. For my
maybe not
isn't.
for the wallet.
Well, you know, when your wallet gets a better workout than you do, you kind of wonder what's wrong. I still think what's funny is the way we met and how all of this spurred about was because of our parents. And it's like, oh yeah, both of our sons are freaks for music. Let's see what happens. And then it was just like a bomb went off, and it's like, oh, those two are inseparable. And then like next thing I know, it's like, oh hey, I'm living above the Brown Cup. Oh hey, you know who performs there? No way. And then it was a snowball effect of so much good music. And man, I am so happy I was able to be there and see those shows, but it's killing me.
Yeah, we haven't
them.
Yeah, it's been so next month it will be a year since we last played there because of COVID. Yeah, brutal.
If anybody needs me, I'll be crying.
Brutal. Yeah.
I mean, it's like everybody got a break they didn't want, you know.
You know, it's kind of like 2020 it's almost like the record jumped, you know. The needle moved forward.
Done.
And it just kind of disappeared into the vacuum of space.
Yeah, exactly. Good Lord. Well, yeah, just a hell of a year. I'm so glad it's over, and I'm so glad we're into 2021. And I mean, I know it's, you know, there's those people who are just like, yeah, well, what's different? I'm like, no, I get it, but I mean,
I think better days are coming.
Oh, for sure. You know, there's a vaccine rollout. I already have like 3 or 4 concerts that are like, hey, this is going to be happening around March or May. I get to start off with one of your favorite groups, Steely Dan.
Oh man, that's gonna be awesome.
Steve Winwood opening, which should be amazing. I can't remember when. I can't remember if I was in Vegas when you texted me, but it was like one random day. You text me out and were like, "I'm seeing Steely Dan tonight." And I was like, "You're what?"
Yeah, that was kind of another. That was kind of similar to your McCartney story. It was kind of
I don't know
a surprise.
I don't know where we're going, but I just know we're having fun.
Yeah, not to that. Yeah, exactly. But what happened was, my parents or my mom emailed me really random, and one day I remember I was getting my eyes dilated. I was getting my eyes checked out for whatever reason. I don't remember, and super random. And I was in the waiting room, and I couldn't see. They had just dilated my eyes, and I'm trying to look at my phone, and I'm kind of holding it closer and far away from my face, trying to figure out what distance I can actually read it. And I see this email, and my mom says, do not book anything on this date. Like, don't book any gigs or anything like that. Why? And so I think I tried to respond, why? And then she writes back, just don't. And what the hell is up with this? And Christmas was coming up, and then I'm my dad drove me to that appointment because I can't drive back with my eyes dilated.
Right.
And so I'm asking him, why is she telling me not to book anything? And he's saying, just don't. And I'm kind of getting mad for no reason that they won't tell me.
What the hell is it with you two?
Yeah, and eventually it came out. They said that it was an early Christmas present surprise. They got me tickets to see Steely Dan, and
that's awesome.
That was Steely Dan is, that's my favorite band right there. And that was a dream come true. So when you get to see them, be ready. It's an unbelievable show, and probably the best live sound of any show I've ever seen.
I'm sure it will be. It wouldn't surprise me because Donald Fagen is
he's a perfectionist.
Yeah.
The board setup they had for mixing that
Must
show
have been crazy.
Was unreal. It looked like they had, honestly, that was more impressive than most people's studio setup for a live performance. It was unbelievable sound quality. The songs it was just one after the next. I knew every single song. It was like everything you wanted to hear.
Yep,
plus deep cuts for the fans and for the fanboys like me. And it was just excellent.
Right. Yeah. It's funny. I had the same thing happen. I was sitting I was in a lecture class. It was 9 a.m, and this lecture is going to be going on for 3 hours. So I'm just, watching paint dry at that point. Like when you're halfway through a long lecture and you just go, I'm dead inside. Like I'm just watching myself crumble. Like that out of body experience. You're like listening to a lecture about something that doesn't really, like the space out. So I'm sitting in front of my tablet and an email pops up and my dad just goes, so, and most of the time when we're talking about going to a concert, it'll be the three of us talking like, well, we could probably do this and da-da-da-da-da. And my dad just goes, hey, so I made a bit of an executive decision. And it was the Eagles, Hotel California, live in Las Vegas. And I was like, and the email, it was 8 months out. But they did a whole pre-sale. He goes, I figured we couldn't miss this.
Yeah.
And then I was like, whoa, this is cool. And what was funny is for my birthday, my parents bought tickets a year in advance to see Jimmy Buffett. So the Eagles show was September 28th. And then Jimmy Buffett was like October 9th. So it was like a month of each other. So I had the back-to-back rock and roll weekend. I flew in the day of the concert, and I took the first flight out the morning after.
Awesome. It can't be understated how much, it's really a powerful thing to have a family that supports the love of music
Oh, my
and will
God.
put themselves or their money out there to do something like
Well,
that.
and it was like when I was applying for this internship at a local studio, or at actually a local music label. It was like, oh, how does music impact you? I was like, how does it not?
Really?
I was
Yeah.
like, I don't remember not hearing music in my house, like that type of deal. Yeah, no, what was
Yeah, that's a blessing, man. There are some people who
For
grow
real.
up without that being around, or I kind of shudder at the thought. But there are some people who are like, they say, what music was around growing up, and they're like, there was no music around growing up, And
What?
I just think
How could there not be?
right. And so to have that foundation is really everything, and I think that really informs, for sure, your addiction over here to vinyl.
Yeah,
but it's
I know
really
we've
an
talked
awesome
about
thing.
it, but oh yeah, I know. And I mean, again, we're both one to talk. We both have extensive collections.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's do you ever log into Discogs, look at the number, and go, oh, I might have a problem, and then continue to make it larger? Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
I was doing that last night because I was adding some stuff I had gotten over the weekend. I'm like, dude, I'm about to hit 1,500. Good Lord.
Yeah, you skyrocketed past me quite a bit.
When that guy knocked on my door?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, that was fun. Hey, man, you want some records? Sure. How many do you have? About 700.
That's crazy. Yeah, your collection kind of doubled from that, huh?
It
Wow.
immediately doubled. I had, it took up half of all of these shelves
Wow.
in one day. It took me 5 hours to
go
log
through all that.
everything.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I called my buddy and I just go, hey, how fast can you get to my house? A guy just dropped off a collection. He goes, about 30 minutes. I go, what if I told you I'm ordering 2 pizzas? He goes, 20. He was like, man, I thought you were joking. I'm like, no, you're going to be leaving with some records. And what's funny is he pulled up Gaucho.
Oh, nice.
And he
yeah.
goes, I don't think I have this one. I go, that one's, I was like, non-negotiable. That goes home with you. And you need to listen to this, and this track.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He texts me
Solid
later.
album.
He goes, dude, you were right. I'm like, I know.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad
With a song like Babylon Sisters as the opener, yeah, you should be just immediately like, oh, where's this been?
Well, I'm glad you sent that home with him. He needed that.
Oh,
Everyone
yeah.
needs that.
No, if anybody everybody needs an education in Steely Dan. It's mandatory. God, I'm so excited to see them. Well, and speaking of Steely Dan and a bunch of, it was funny. I was just like looking back at all the crazy just performances out of the New York scene, because I had my history of rock and roll class, and they were talking about CBGB and Studio 54 coming up at the same time.
Yeah.
And then like the founding of Electric Ladyland. It still amazes me, like Steely Dan, Walter Becker and Donald Fagen were talking like, oh yeah, we were at Bard College in the 60s and we had a little band. Oh, Chevy Chase was our drummer.
Yeah,
You're
very
like,
random.
what?
Yeah.
Do you know he was in a psych band too called the Electric Chameleons?
Chevy Chase?
Yeah.
I did not know
Yeah.
that.
Noble Records posted that. He was like, yeah, I've got a couple of these. I DM'd him like, how much is it for one of those? He goes, I'll get back to you, and I haven't heard back since. I need to DM him again. Like, dude, I want one of those Chevy Chase records.
Wow. And it's him playing on it?
Oh, yeah, he's the drummer, and he goes, it's horrible, but, it's Chevy Chase is on it.
Wild.
Oh, I know. Well, and what was also crazy was, and another personal favorite artist that we share is Bill Evans, is that he was close friends with him, too.
Chevy Chase knew Bill Evans?
Yeah.
Huh.
Like, he would see him at Ronnie Scott's all the time, and he would call him on the phone just like, Bill, I figured it out, your song, and he would play it, and he just goes, oh, that's nice. It was just like, okay.
Well, that's really the battle of the personalities there, Bill Evans and Chevy Chase.
Oh, God. I don't know. It's like the friendship in the middle, but both sides of the bridge are on fire.
Yeah. That's a good way of saying it.
They're both eclectic, I guess. Really? Well, and I know there was no easy way to transition into this, and you know what story I want to hear just because it's so incredible. But this was when you were just scouting out colleges, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So this was the whole tour of not knowing if you were going to stay in California, if you were going to go to New York.
Yeah.
Which what was funny to me, like just reflecting on, I'm like, well, I mean, if you're a jazz musician, I feel like the obvious point is to go straight to New York.
Right.
You know?
And that's why I was interested or wanted so desperately to go there.
Right.
You know?
Which is why you were looking at, NYU, Columbia, and...
Yeah. Those were the main two I was looking at.
Just those two?
Uh-huh.
Okay, I didn't know.
I looked at some other East Coast schools,
But they didn't have the blue note. They didn't have the half note. They didn't have Ronnie Scott's. No, I'm kidding.
Those were the main two I was looking at. So I was applying to college. It was my senior year of high school. No, yes, yeah, it was. And the number one school I wanted to go to in general, across the board, was Columbia in New York. And I applied, and I was in the process of applying, and they said, why don't you come look at the school? We'll fly you out. And so, okay. And so they
cool, free trip.
Yeah, they flew. So at this point, I had been touring all the other schools that I wanted to go to, and the only one I hadn't toured was Columbia, because it's so far away from San Diego, obviously.
Right.
But they offered to fly me out, and like, hell yeah, I'll take that up. So flew my mom and I out there, and it's a 3-day weekend or something like that. And they're taking us around the campus, all the things you could imagine from a college tour. Not super interesting, but amazing to be in the city. Or it was supposed to be 2 days, and then fly back on the third day. But what happened was I had never been to New York before, and I was like, well, I gotta see some live jazz while I'm there. And so before the trip was finalized, I was looking online, just looking at who's playing where at all the noteworthy clubs, And I see one night only McCoy Tyner at the Blue Note, and McCoy Tyner, and at this point, he's up there in age, and
70.
He's probably like 79 or 78.
Oh, you're kidding? Okay.
Yeah, 79, I think. Yeah, and so he's up there, and I'm like, this guy's my hero. Coltrane and McCoy is like my heroes, and here he is, an opportunity to see him. The rub was that it was on the Monday. I was supposed to be flying out on the Monday, but it was Monday night. And so I'm thinking, man. And I thought, well, I'm already not staying on campus. I'm staying at a hotel off of campus. The university just paid for the flight. Like, I wonder if they could just move the flight, because that doesn't impact them in any way. And I kind of have this philosophy in life that just ask. If you've got something that you're worried about, or something you want to know, just ask about it. The worst they could say is no. So I emailed the travel coordinator, and they said, I said, I want to go to this jazz show on Monday night. Can you move my flight to Tuesday, please? It would mean a lot to me. And they said, okay. And I was like, wow, that was easy. And so they did it.
Long story short, don't be afraid to ask. No.
Really, I think so. That philosophy has carried me a lot in life. I mean, I'm not advocating being a beggar, but I am saying that, I guess what I'm saying is that if there's something you have in mind that you want to pursue, just put it out there, because the worst they can say is no, and then you find another way to make it work.
Right.
But anyway, so end up in the city. It's the third day. It's Monday night. Gonna go see McCoy Tyner. So
that has to be a surreal moment where, like, did you have that, like, out of body experience? Like, I have those moments sometimes, like, either before I enter a venue or when I'm, like, halfway through the show and I'm like, I'm seeing this live. That's how I felt when we were at Petco Park for McCartney again. I was like, I can say I've seen him twice.
Right.
Or like when I saw Roger Waters or like Bob Seger. Mm-hmm. Or like that was another rock and roll weekend. McCartney on Saturday, and I saw the Doobie Brothers open for Santana on Sunday, because we got tickets for my mom, because Santana is one of her favorite guitar players. Mm-hmm. I mean, how could he not be?
Oh yeah.
But no, it's just like that out of body, just standing there going, I'm at the Blue Note and I'm about to see one of the titans of the genre do his work.
It definitely was an out of body experience, and what made it funny too is that before, so we took a cab down there, and we had to. So we're waiting on the street corner. I think we walked a little bit from where our hotel was, just to see a little bit of the city a little bit, and then called the cab. And then I look up when I'm waiting for the cab, and the street sign said Miles Davis Way or something like that. That was the street we were waiting on, so I was like, okay, this is appropriate. But yeah, definitely when we got down to the Blue Note, we got there early because it's not assigned seating, it's first come, first served. So we got there, no one was there, and we were first in line. So that was definitely when the feelings you just described were kicking in. And there's a picture of him in the window, tonight, and I'm thinking, this is about to happen.
It's real.
And
it's happening.
Yeah, so go inside, and they say, where do you want to sit? And I look at the empty room. It's a small place. Everything in the city is so small, and these clubs are so intimate. And so they have everything crammed to the,
That's like the scene out of Goodfellas when they're walking the table above everybody to get to the front. Yeah,
exactly.
At the
exactly
Copa.
Like that.
Yep.
And so everything is, jam packed, but I have the pick of the room, and I see at the, right there is an open chair right next to the piano. It's
that one
closer than I am to you right now, and I'm thinking, well, that's where I want to sit. So I said, right there. And they don't, okay, and sit down there. And
almost sounds like the ushers don't even know who he is. Like, all right, cool.
Well, they work there every,
No, I know.
Yeah. And I think they're like, we got to pack all these people in here. So they're just letting everybody in. And anyway, show starts. McCoy doesn't come out yet. The trio, sax, bass, drums, plays a couple songs first to warm up the crowd, I guess. And
yeah, because McCoy Tyner needs to do crowd work.
Yeah, I mean, he really doesn't. But they did it, and it was amazing already.
Right.
And I'm thinking, wow, this is some of the best playing I've ever seen in my life. And then they play a couple songs, and I remember the last one they played was My One and Only Love, which is one of my favorite jazz standards. And they stop, and they say, ladies and gentlemen, the maestro, McCoy Tyner. And where is he? And look over to the side, and there's this staircase where the green room is, and he's coming down, and his son is helping him. He's walking very slowly. His knees are bad, He's coming very slowly, and everyone's clapping and clapping and clapping. He's coming. It takes a long time, but that's okay. And then he comes, and like I said, closer than you are to me right now, he sits down at the piano. Now I'm like right next to him, I could have just extended my hand barely and, tugged at his pant leg, it was like he was right there.
Dude, nice socks.
Yeah, exactly. And he sits down, and he just looks up, and then he just looks at the band, doesn't count off or anything, and he's moving so slowly. I'm thinking, man, is
he gonna die on stage?
It was like he's moving so slowly. I'm thinking, is he okay? But he was okay. He was just, moving slow with age. And
he knew what he was doing. Just
perhaps because he just reached his hands out, and then he held them over the keys for a second, and then just bum, 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 it just launched into the left. His left hand was moving so fast and just started tearing it up just immediately, and the band just jumped in right with him, and immediately it was like 0 to a billion in half a second.
Yep.
It was just rocket launch explosion, however you want to put
happens.
it. And I just remember sitting there eyes wide just going, what the hell just happened? Like I said, it's like an atomic bomb went off. Anyway, plays the first song. It was Fly with the Wind, I remember that. And song ends, plays another song, Blues on the Corner, another one of my favorite tunes of his. And then plays I think one more, and then stops, and then he says, and then he picks up the mic to talk into it, and he says, thank you everybody for coming out, normal whatever. And then he looks down at me, who I'm sitting right at his feet, basically. He's elevated slightly, but I'm just right there. And then he just kind of pauses, and he looks directly at, locks eyes with me, and I'm thinking,
yes, God.
Yeah, yeah, actually, and I'm just kind of in a daze, and he's just looking at me and doesn't say anything at first, and he says, "Thank you for coming." And I'm thinking he's talking to everybody still, but he's just looking at me, so I'm just kind of looking like, wow, what's going on? And then he says, really, thank you for being here. And then I realize he's talking to me, and so
okay, just weird question. I hate to interrupt, but since I know he's talking straight to you, were you, as far as you know, like one of the youngest people there?
Yes.
Okay.
Probably.
The only reason I asked that is because I know I've been to like when I saw Art Garfunkel.
You saw Garfunkel?
Yeah. Oh, it was one of the weirdest concerts I've ever been to. But again, like the guy's almost 80, so I was like, I have to see him. I just because you never know. I sit in my seat. There is nobody my age there, and I had people turn around going, "What are you doing here?" I was like, "I'm here for." I was ready to just. I almost went like 0 to smartass. Like, well, why are you here?
Yeah, great music, right?
Yeah, I was like, well, I think we're here for the same reason. Yeah. No, that's what I wanted to ask. So sorry to interrupt, but
you're good.
Yeah,
I think I probably was. There were definitely younger.
It's a fun feeling.
There were definitely younger people there. It wasn't all old people. It was a mix of ages, but I would say I was probably the youngest or one of the youngest. And so he looks at me and says, "No, thank you for being here." And I could see that we're also cram packed that in the club there, that I'm seeing all the people that are right next to me, and I could see them kind of looking at each other like, what's going on? Does he know you? Yeah, and my mom kind of looks at me and nods like, say something, and I said, "Thank you," and and he said, and then he just kind of looked at me again, and he just kind of smiled, like a half smile, just kind of like a knowing smile, I would say. And he just looked at me and he said, he just said, "Everything will be okay." And I'm thinking, what's, and he's looking right at me. He's not looking around at the room. This whole thing, he never breaks eye contact with me, and he's just looking right at me. And then he said, "Well, and he said, music is a blessed thing. It's a beautiful thing." And I nod in agreement. And he says, "Sometimes there are times in our life where paths open up and we don't know where to go." And he said, "But the thing is, if you always trust in the music is divine." And he said, "And music is a reflection of the Creator and those who came before us. So if you trust in the music and follow that with your heart, you will always be okay." And then I'm just in shock. And then he said, "God knows has a plan for all of us." And he said, "If you follow the music, you will always be okay no matter what." And he said, "God bless you. You will always be okay." And
sounds like a shaman.
Yeah, really. And so when I've told this story in the past, this is usually the part where people start going, what? No. Did that happen?
Well, but unbeknownst to like what he knew and everything going on in your world, you were having the like internal like. You were trapped in like that like spider web of anxiety. Like, what am I gonna do with my life after high school?
Definitely.
I think everybody does that, but now you're scattered all over. Like, well, do I go to New York? Do I stay here? What do I do? And then, boom.
And particularly for me at that time, I was very not in a good place in many ways, and in many different ways. And I had stuff going on in my personal life, and then just in terms of what I was doing, I was kind of on the verge of giving up. I was kind of thinking, I want to be in New York for the jazz, but I was thinking, I don't know if that's going to work out, and I was kind of entertaining the possibility of just giving up music entirely and getting like a quote-unquote normal path, normal path,
Ew,
like
gross normalcy.
yeah. and I was thinking of getting a degree in political science or English or something like that. And and I was thinking of giving up,
Right.
and I was feeling very discouraged and all these things. But obviously McCoy Tyner doesn't know this. He doesn't know me. I don't know him. Well, I know his music, but I don't know him. And
The cosmic brotherhood of jazz,
right. And so, but he's just looking at me with this intensity, and like I said, he never breaks eye contact, and he just keeps reaffirming over and over again that he keeps saying
everything will be
he
okay.
keeps saying the words, "You will always be okay. You will be okay." And he kept saying, "Thank you for being here," and all of these things. And then he just looked at me, and he said again, he just said, "Always trust in your heart." And he said, "Never let anyone sway that. Trust in your heart, follow the music, and you will be pursuing the life of," what was the turn of phrase he used? He said something to the effect of, "You'll be living the life of the divine." In other words, like what you were meant to do, like your purpose, your meaning. He just kept reaffirming to me the idea of meaning. And he said, "And then you will always be okay, no matter what." And he said, "No matter where I remember, I'll never forget, he said this. He said, "No matter where you go, no matter what you do, if you keep the music in your heart and in your mind, you will always be okay." And then he said, "So God bless you, and thank you for being here, and God bless you now and always." And then I look to the left of me, and my mom's sitting across from me. She's crying. This random couple we met who were sitting next to us, they're crying. They were an older couple who used to see McCoy every time he played at the Blue Note.
Yeah, they were the groupies.
And yes, and they knew the band. They were like, "Hey, how you guys doing?" And they're crying. I see people in the other parts of the room. They're all in tears. And then McCoy just swings his leg around, kind of very slowly around to the other side of the bench, and he reaches out his hand to me, and I'm just looking at him, and he's smiling at me, and I'm just looking at him, and I'm just frozen from the intensity of the moment, and I'm like crying too, and I'm like just frozen from the intensity of the moment. And then I just hear my mom say, "Shake his hand." And I'm like, yeah, right. And so I stand up because he's on the stage, so I stand up and I reach my hand out to him, and he grabs my hand between both of his and just squeezes it and holds my hand between his hand for, not for like handshake, hello, goodbye, it was like he just holds it there for a second, and he's just looking at me in my eye, both eyes locked into me, just looking deep into like my soul, it felt like. And
well, I mean, this is Tyner.
Yeah.
We're talking about the guy who follows the spirit,
right?
Whether or not it's a specific religion. No, he probably was,
right,
in a weird way,
right. And he just held my hand for like I don't know how long, but for a bit, and just looked at me, and he just smiled, and he said, "God bless you now and always." And he said, and then he just gave it one final squeeze, and then I sat down. He kind of sat down again. He was kind of half standing to reach out to me, and he sat back down again. I sat down. Then he looked up at the band, and he just waved his hand to the left, like, "Get out of here." And so they kind of looked at each other, and they walked off the stage the other direction. And then I'm sitting so close to him, I could hear him. He just kind of inhaled deeply and just played by himself, solo piano, the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. And I've listened to like all of his albums. I've never heard this song, so I think it was improvised. I think.
Oh my god!
Because I didn't recognize it as any tune of his or otherwise. And I mean, it could have been a song, that I didn't know. But it sounded to me improvised, and I've never been able to find anything that sounded like it.
Right.
But it was a ballad. He played it so beautifully, and just with such intensity, and it built into this big thing, and he's all over the piano, and just his left hand is striking the chords and everything, and I'm just sitting there fully crying now. And then he finishes, and then he just turns and looks at me again, and he says, "Thank you so much, and God bless you again, now and always. You'll be okay." And then he just picked up the mic and said to everybody, "Thank you for being here, everyone. Thank you so much. You've made my day, you know." And he says, "Thank you all, bless you all, good night." And then he just gives me one last smile, and he kind of nods to me. And then he turns around, and his kids come back and help him off the stage, and then he's gone. And I'm like frozen in my chair, and I'm, you know, tears drying on my face the whole bit, and everyone's looking at me. And then the couple that I said always came and saw him, they said, "We've been seeing him for years, and we've seen every show he's ever played here, and we've never seen that happen." And there's like, "Do you know what that was?" And I said, "No." And they said, "Well, that was something special." And one of them said, "I'll never forget that for as long as I live." And they said, "Even though that was directed to you," I remember she said, "Even though that was directed to you, I will never forget that as long as I live. That was one of the most powerful things I've ever seen."
Yeah.
And I was, yeah. And, you know, and we talked for a bit, but then I go upstairs. The bathroom at the Blue Note's upstairs, so I need to go to the bathroom, so I go up there. And every 5 seconds of me walking, I'm getting stopped by someone who is there at the show. And they're saying, "Did you know him? Do you know him? Are you a friend? Are you family? Blah, blah, blah." It's like, "I've never met him. I don't know him any more than you do."
I'm from California.
Yeah, I said, "I'm from San Diego, man. I don't know him. I've never met him." And they're like, "Wow, that was something." And everyone is just... And they're
Don't
saying,
worry, I don't know what it was either.
yeah, and they're saying, "You have a story for the rest of your life," you know. And I just remember getting in the taxi after the show and writing it all on my phone so I wouldn't forget a single word that he said. And my mom was just saying, "No matter what happens, we were meant to be here tonight." And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." And she said, "I'm so she's like, I remember her saying, "Words can't describe the feeling I feel for you for that happening." And I was like, "Yeah, that was crazy." And it didn't even fully hit me until that night laying in bed. It's like, did I dream all this, you know? And so, yeah, I know it's kind of a long story, but that's what happened. And I've told that a number of times, and people are always, some people are skeptical of it, but then when I finish the story, they tell me, "Oh no, you know, that was something special." And, you know, it's 100% true. It was just, it was an experience unlike any I've ever had before or since in my life. And it was something that was just unreal.
It's just such an amazing story. And I don't know, I just like, I could listen to that like every day. It's just such a fun story.
Yeah, it's a crazy thing. I think you nailed it when you said about, you know, his spiritual, he was definitely on a spiritual plane that I think where we can only strive to be.
He was like a dimension above.
Yeah, maybe something like that.
He was reading something within the realm.
He was definitely, the way he spoke to me as if he
knew what your struggle was
and knew that I was in a hard place in many ways, and knew that I needed, like, because that's really, especially in retrospect, I understand this, is that really what I needed at that time was to know that everything was going to be all right.
Yeah.
And
that helped.
And yeah, that really helped. And, you know, that set me on a course to this day where it's like, you know,
always follow
of course
the music.
I can't give up.
Yeah.
And really, it's like everything, my life really turned around after that. And I ended up not staying in New York. I committed to Columbia, and then I didn't end up staying because for a long list of reasons. But one thing led to another, and I realized that what was here home musically for me was where I needed to be, at least at this moment.
Exactly.
And so, you know, I ended up turning that down, and I came back here, and then everything from that moment onward flourished. I went, the first jam session I went to after that, I met Joanna, who is, you know, the best drummer I've ever played with. No question, no bar about it.
Sonic Titan.
And then she ended up, you know, one thing led to another, and we ended up being together going on 2 years now. And
I love the two of you. You guys are so much fun.
No.
Like at the record fair,
Yeah.
just like the two of you were like watching like vultures. Like, oh, what's he gonna buy now?
Yeah.
In the span of like 30 minutes, you watched me buy 3 separate albums. I was like, shouldn't you? And I can't remember if it was you or her. She was like, well, aren't you supposed to be selling records? Probably.
Yeah, that was her.
Buying Chico Hamilton. Just I'm like,
yeah.
Gabar's Bose on this one. I need to have this.
But she's one of the most incredible musicians I've ever met, and the best drummer I've ever played with, without question. And so I met her not long after that, and then as a result of her, that kind of jump started the new era of the Soto Six group that ultimately led to the Brown Cup residency, and then ultimately led to meeting Bob Weller, and all of these things, and all these opportunities all started to spring up one after the next, after the next, after the next. After that, after the McCoy Tyner experience, it was like everything just radically changed. Everything radically changed in my life for the better, and it also shifted. Just on a personal note, it also shifted my worldview in a very fundamental way. Like I said, I was kind of in a very dark place at that time, and I was very existential in my way of thinking, and I thought, yeah, it's just dark, man. But after that, it changed my belief system in a way that now I tell Joanna all the time, and for myself too, is like everything happens for a reason.
Yep.
And that is my firm belief, and I don't care what anybody else says. I really believe. I don't have the answers as to why it does, and really I don't think that matters, but I know that it does.
Well, my personal mantra is like no matter what you believe in, we're all in the karma business. Do good to others and good will be done unto you.
Absolutely.
Like,
absolutely.
I believe in that wholeheartedly. And just, it's just so funny. Just like, oh yeah, after that, everything, was just working.
Yeah.
Like, it made sense. So in a roundabout way, McCoy Tyner started the Soto Six. No, I'm kidding. But
really?
But sort of like in a weird off-kilter.
It was, and I thought for the longest time that was so random. And I, to an extent, I still think about it sometimes, but not as much anymore. But like, why did that happen to me? Why did that happen to me? What happened?
Then you look back and you go, that's why. Yeah.
And then when he passed last year, that night, I just really kind of sat with it. The loss, obviously.
The room probably felt like it was getting smaller.
Yeah. And
that was like losing family.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
And I just sat there thinking about it. But then it was when I really just, I kind of sat with the feeling, and then I sat with just thinking the lineage of the way things happened and the way that my worldview was changed from that. And I mean like deep, my philosophies, the way I view the world, the way all of that changed from that moment. And I became such a much happier person after that. And obviously, like I said, I started to meet people and have new musical experiences and all these things. But it's like it all came from that shift in my worldview that came from him. And that's a gift that I will carry until the day I die. And that's a gift that I am grateful for every day. I mean, I think, honestly, every single day, I feel so full of gratitude every day. And, not saying that I'm perfect. Everybody has their off days, but that's a given. But just my approach to life has fundamentally changed after that, 100%.
Okay, so, and again, we've talked a lot of jazz, and we can talk about that for hours, as this is already proving on the timestamp. But when, because I know you and I both have the same type of taste, where it's like, oh yeah, today I'm going to listen to rock, tomorrow I'm going to listen, and next morning it's like, oh yeah, jazz, and the morning after that it's like, you know what I haven't listened to? Hip-hop. Let's put on like MF Doom, rest in peace. Just changing. So when you're not listening to jazz, and I know we touched on it a little bit here, like Steely Dan and stuff.
Yeah.
What's your like go-to genre after after a Soto Six show?
So yeah, definitely jazz is, like we established, definitely my love,
The top.
and definitely the bulk of what I listen to. But I do listen, I'm listening to music all the time. So after jazz, probably what I listen to the most is a lot of really a lot of 70s 70s rock and pop and that sort of thing, and 60s as well, but particularly the 70s. So I mean the Beatles, of course, that's 60s, but the Beatles and all of the respective Beatles solo careers, definitely always in rotation, always, and in many ways kind of one of the most important groups in my life of that I've really enjoyed their music forever. Steely Dan we talked about, also love David Bowie and Frank Zappa.
Yup.
And Todd Rundgren I absolutely adore. I love Todd Rundgren so much.
Before we recorded, we were just talking about that because I have on my floor there's just records everywhere, and one of them is something Todd Rundgren, which is just a masterpiece record.
Best. Yeah,
a one-man band, literally.
Yeah, I love that. I love that album. That album is probably one of the albums I've listened to the most in my life.
And it's probably like the go-to. Just like, oh, how do you get into Rundgren? This record, right here.
Yeah, such a great record. A lot of that sort of stuff I listen to. But I mean, a lot of different music.
What's something you listen to that not a lot of people would expect you to listen to?
Bread. I love bread. I advocate for bread on every chance I can. I think that someday the bread revolution will come and everyone will realize that they missed out on bread. I think they're the most underrated band of the 70s. I think the songwriting was excellent. And, if you dig into those albums, I think they're immediately dismissed by a lot of people because they had chart success and because a lot of their songs were very radio friendly. But if you really dig into the songwriting and dig into the music and dig into the records, I think that the music there is really excellent. Yeah, you probably didn't expect that one.
No, I didn't. I was like genuinely expecting to just hear like some random just genre, and I'm like, wait, real? Oh, okay.
I mean,
all right.
I've got that too, but I
I'm
love
cool
bread. I tell you what. I mean, I've got, there's all kinds of different stuff that I like. But I think that in terms of surprise or underrated, bread is like.
That's so funny. I love it. Yeah. That's so funny. I don't know why. I was like, I'm kind of shocked. I did not expect that one to be the answer. All right, cool. I respect it. I'm with it. That's awesome.
Yeah, but I think one of the great things about vinyl is that I think there's something about digital that particularly if you're on Spotify or YouTube or that sort of thing, the algorithm will feed you recommendations, right? What you might like, which is cool in some respects.
Oh, that's how I found hundreds of artists.
And that's awesome. But I feel like there at the end of the day there is something that an algorithm is feeding you something, but maybe it's not feeding you this other thing, and that other thing would blow your mind,
Right.
So there is something about walking through the record store and seeing what is that. This looks wild.
This is a weird looking record. I'm gonna get it.
I'm gonna get it. And then sometimes it's garbage, and then whatever.
Yeah, I had that happen recently, and I'm a little disappointed because it's a 10-inch record, and I love 10-inch records. I was like, oh, it's that one right there, the Daddy Licks Band.
I've never heard of that.
Neither have I. I was like, oh, sure, why not? I'll listen to it. I couldn't get through the first half of the first song. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, and that happens
I
sometimes.
know. Yeah,
but,
hit or miss.
But, you know, other times you find this album that has been out of print for 50 years, and it's some obscure group, and you're like, what is this? And you put that on, and it's just, wow, what is that?
Like,
you know?
Whoa. Where's this been?
And I love moments like that.
Yeah.
That's the, you know, that's what it's all about to me. But yeah, you know, I have kind of eclectic tastes. If you were to flip through my record collection, you'd see a lot of jazz. You'd see a lot of the stuff I mentioned of 70s, 60s music. But there are some random things in there, and you know, there's a lot of different things that are kind of seemingly disparate, but they all do it for me, you know.
No, like it's funny. Like I just on the outside here, it's like, oh yeah, it's a bunch of classic rock. Then you'll scroll through and you're like, wait, you have Jay Dilla's Donuts? I'm like, yeah, I love Dilla. He's one of my favorite producers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what? I was like, yeah. You start at the beginning. It's like, wait, you have Tupac? I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
Tupac, DMX, and a bunch of like crazy like gangster rap from like the West Coast scene. I was like, yeah.
West Coast 90s stuff.
Oh, yeah. NWA 20th Anniversary Remaster. That one's really good. I mean, I've been getting into like a lot of like harder stuff lately, like Dying Fetus. No, I'm kidding. I don't listen to like that's way too much for me. I was in a record shop in Santa Cruz, and I walk in and like quiet, but the guy's he was just putting a record on. I didn't realize it was death metal, and it was Dying Fetus.
Wow.
And I was buying Wes Montgomery records from him. And he had it cranked so loud. So I'm like, yeah, oh, cool. This has In Your Own Sweet Way on it. Cool. And I'm like, but I'm deaf in both my ears, so I'm not sure I can buy this anymore. So, and I walk out and I look at my buddy. I'm like, what the hell was that? He goes, I don't know, but I don't know if I want to come back.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, that's been, you know, to each their own, but that's been something I've never really gotten into.
Oh, it's so funny. Well, it's like the guy who owns Standards, you know, college, you walk in covered in tattoos, like half-shaven head. You're like, he could break me with his eyes, and he probably can, but he's like the greatest dude ever. And then I
love him.
And then he talks to you, and he's like, oh, yeah, well, I'm in a couple hardcore punk bands. And you're like, oh, makes sense. Yeah.
You know, he is one of the, I mean, not only nicest, but one of the most knowledgeable people I've ever met. He's an endless wealth of knowledge about all different types of music.
That's why I love him. Every time I walk in, I get to talk to him. It's always something new. I always leave with a record that like blows my mind.
Yeah.
Although one of my favorite memories of walking into Standards, it was pouring down rain, and I had like a 3-hour break between classes. This was when I had my 7-hour break. I started one class in the morning. I didn't have one until like 4 in the afternoon. Oh man. And I was like, you know what? Screw this. I already have like most of my homework done. I'm just done. I want to get off campus. I go to I go to Standards, and it was storming, but you know it hadn't started to rain yet. I'm walking through, and hey, Colin, hey, dude, what's up? Not too much. And I'm walking. I look over on the wall. I go, is that a 6i mono? Yep. Is it from '59? Yep. You gonna buy it? Yep. I hand him my credit card. First round pressing, kind of blue.
Oh, wow. Nice.
It has the mistake printing on the label and on the sleeve. And I walk out, and I'm just like, he puts it in a bag and like ties it because, you know, it's raining. And I was like, okay. I put it in my car, and I'm like, did I just buy an original kind of blue?
Yeah.
I was like, it's real.
Wow.
Oh yeah. No,
I don't have an original. Mine's a 70s pressing.
Yeah, that's why. I mean, it was just a fluke thing. It just happened to be there. I think I also bought a Judas Priest record too. I'm pretty sure.
Speaking of different tastes.
Oh yeah, Defenders of the Faith, because it has Some Heads Are Gonna Roll, one of my favorite Judas Priest song. Which that was funny. Like, where were you? I was at a record shop. Oh, what'd you get? Judas Priest and Miles Davis. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? I go, it's a long story. Nothing as far as I know. It's support your local record stores. I'm going to reiterate that, and I will always reiterate that.
Definitely.
I mean, support small business in general, especially during these times. But if you can, go to your local record shop, and if there's something obscure that you enjoy that you can't find, they will.
Yeah.
which that's another thing you and I also have in common. We're psychopaths. People look at us and they're like, why do you camp out at a record store? I'm like, well, because they only made 2,000 copies of this Bill Evans album, and I had to have one.
It's a hobby that it grabs you and then it doesn't let you go.
No, and I'm okay with them never letting me go.
Yeah.
Although it's still funny, though, like the story of last record store day when you were there. I was like, dude, what time did you get here? I was here at 2 a.m. You were like 25 in line.
Mm-hmm.
It was the Ron Carter record, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Dylan walks up to the register, and I waited after I'd gotten all of my stuff that I wanted, and I was like, I'm just gonna wait until just hope that you get this record. And he only had one album on his list, and it was, what was the record?
It was Ron Carter Quartet live in Stockholm. And it was a double album, and a lot of great tunes on there, and it was a concert I hadn't heard.
But what made it special?
But he signed. There were only, I forget how many, not many, maybe 1,000, maybe, and he signed all of them and numbered them. Signed on the cover. I was like, oh man, I gotta get that. That's pretty cool.
Well, and so Dylan gets the album, and owner looks at him and just goes, or Lou looks at him and goes, so, what else? And he goes, that's it. And he goes, that's it?
Yeah.
You waited in line this long for just that?
Yeah. And then he said that another guy, I guess who was behind me in line, was going to be upset because I guess he was waiting for that one, but they only had one copy.
Oops.
So, you get there when you get there and you get what you get.
Yep. That's...
But I've definitely been on the other side of the equation.
Yeah, that makes two of us.
Waiting to get something and then they're out of it.
Yeah, so then you have to, like, damage control. Just like, where's my nearest other record store? And then you go to the other one. They're like, okay, they have one copy. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Or if you can't find it, and then you have to have that self-inflicted fight amongst yourself. Or like, do I give into a scalper? Do I really have to have... Why? It was like the Thelonious Monk release they had. They had it in October release? I don't know. It was some live album that had never seen the light of day, and they were putting it out special for this. And I get home, I'm like, let me see how much it is on eBay. $185. It's like, nope.
Yeah. People are always trying to make a buck,
Yeah, but nobody. Why?
Yeah, I've never been about that. I've always been about the, just the joy of the hunt. I'm mainly into used. I try to get everything original as much as possible, just because I like having it's just something about it being from the time,
Well, unless it comes out like, hey, we're doing a special reissue edition, and it comes with all of this stuff. Like with the bonus tracks or like the unheard stuff. Like, I love that.
Yeah. I really the only time I buy new vinyl, to be honest, is really if there's something cool on Record Store Day. But I'm pretty much I would say 90% at least of everything I've got is used first or at least second press.
Dude.
Respect. Oh no,
That's
no.
Great.
It's just that's just what I'm into. Everybody's different, got a different thing they like. Some people are all about getting the best sounding edition, the audiophile people. Some people are about everything special edition in some way. Some people like misprints, whatever. But I like the old stuff, and to me, what I've always been about since a young age is that I like to get the original, hold it in my hands, and know that multiple people before me had this and probably cherished it.
Yep.
And then I like to put it on the turntable, and my room's carpeted, and I've got standing speakers that stand on the carpet, and I like to lay down on the floor in front of the speakers and turn it up, and then feel the vibrations of the music through my body while I listen to it. And that's been since I was in middle school. That's kind of my thing.
Dude, I get it.
It's just I think it's at least for me, everybody's different, but I think it's the best way to experience music. I think
when you can feel it.
Yeah, because it just encapsulates you, and and the warmth of the vinyl is just something that is unparalleled to me.
Oh, It's the best. Well, and it was funny. I was like looking at my collection. I'm like, okay, I have like I have all of Zeppelin, and they're all original pressings. I have all of Pink Floyd, and almost all of them are original pressings. I'm like, what am I missing here? You know, it's like I'm missing a lot actually, but
that's okay.
I'm missing a lot, but I have plenty.
The joy of the hunt.
Absolutely. Well, man, this was a lot of fun, and I am so happy we were able to do this and re-record this. And
yeah, everything happens for a reason. So
yeah, we're gonna go to a record store. Probably not, but you're gonna follow us in my car, and we're gonna go to Lou's and blow our entire life savings on vinyl.
Yeah, the one thing about no gigs has meant that my record budget has been significantly reduced.
Right.
But
yeah, no, I get it.
That's okay.
I'm the same way with my job. No, I understand.
Yeah.
I get it.
But yeah, this was a lot of fun. I'm glad we were able to redo it.
Me too. And before we go, feel free to please plug, promote anything and everything.
Okay. Well, as you mentioned at the top there, the band is on Instagram and Facebook at the Soto Six, TheSotosix, all spelt out like that. And then for the Bob Weller project that we talked about at the beginning, that we did with him, those recordings of the Negative Harmony series are available on YouTube on Bob's YouTube channel. So if you just search Bob Weller on YouTube, you'll see his YouTube channel come up. You'll see a Negative Harmony playlist come up. There's 8 installments, and all of those are available to stream audio, video on YouTube. And
all of them are required listenings for this podcast.
Yeah.
That is your assignment.
Thank you. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And yeah, just if anyone is interested, they could follow us on Instagram. And then when we've got some virtual things coming up, so I'll be posting about that. And then when we get back to performing, I'll be keeping everyone updated through Instagram and Facebook.
At the Brown Cup in North Oceanside on the 101.
Yeah, 401 North Coast Highway.
There it is.
And if anyone is in the area and just wants a coffee, stop in. I love to spread the love to them.
Good coffee, good people, good music.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the residency, and any other gigs that come up, we'll be posting about on social media, so they could follow us there.
Cool. Well, as everybody knows, you can find me at Needle Nose Records, NEEDLENOSE Records on Instagram, and I'm usually posting every couple of days, always with a new album to talk about. Not sure what it'll be until I pull it from my collection. I like to keep it a little eclectic, but this was so much fun. So
yeah, that was
thank you
great.
for being here.
No, thank you for having me.
All right, we're gonna go spin some records, and
sounds good.
Let's go blow my windows out.